Hello again, Squab. Here I am with another ready for launch build video for Diablo 4, and this one is an interesting setup that came thanks to some discussions on under one of my videos, and I bring you Icy Hunter, a rogue build, and as the name suggests, it's ranged and it's with ice. Shot bursts infused with chilling cold won't give your foes breathing room until their hearts are pierced, which kind of hints at certain things. We're using Heart Piercer, but that's not the centerpiece. The centerpiece are the bursting shots, the rapid fire, and the cold imbue. So, how would I build around those two skills? What supporting abilities would I take? Ultimates, items, all of this is here, including paragons, including the skills, fully passive, active, including all sorts of goodies such as the sockets and gems, the gear rolls, the unique item, as I mentioned, and a few other unique items, not just one. In general, ready for launch, full setup that should get you started with the early end game and all the way until the late end game. So I hope you enjoyed. Buckle up and let's go. On the skill tree, you would notice that we're taking a basic skill, a core skill, we're taking one of those agility skills, and we're taking a subterfuge skill and a single imbuement and a single ultimate. So one of each category. Of course, we have our key passive. The skills I've taken, I'd rather show them here, are as basic. We have Heartseeker, then we have Rapid Fire, Caltrops, Dark Shroud, Code Imbuement, and Shadow Clone. Now, when I talk about them, I'd rather have my spreadsheet open because you can see both options, and that makes it a little bit more obvious why I selected one over the other. For Heartseeker, I recommend taking this one because we'll just use Heartseeker to build up combo points, and then Rapid Fire, thanks to one of the Paragon boards, will have 33% increased non-damage bonus, which means those 6 arrows become 8. 7 will become either 9, or maybe depending on how it rounds up, they might become 10. 8 again, they might become 10, or they might become 11 depending on how it rounds up, 33% out of 8 and out of 7. But in general, rapid fire will be our main DPS burst, and I decided to go for improved rapid fire. So this one will be building the enemy taking more crit damage from us while it's building our combo points. And then with rapid fire, we want to keep that sustained so we can regenerate some energy. If you feel like you're fine with the energy, then definitely go advanced rapid fire for even more DPS. Because this and this, they're meant to be used together. They're just such a good synergy. But if you'll be spamming, I'm not sure how the energy will be at the beginning. So at the beginning, maybe you would need this one. Then eventually, once you get the gear rolls with some energy generation going on, with some aspects and so on, maybe then you can just move on from here to this one. This stutter step was the exact one remaining skill point at the end that I didn't know where to put it. Here it won't do much, here it won't do much. And this was the remaining last point after I took everything I felt is needed. So this one point is floating. Put it wherever you feel like it. Caltrops 1 point enhanced and discipline. Disciplined Caltrops is just such a solid skill. I really like it, and it really goes well with this and this together. And in general, with all the grittiness that this build takes, is just amazing. Weapon mastery, obviously 3 points there. Then moving on to subterfuge, dark shroud, I think will fit amazingly well. Yes, we are not close range build. We probably don't need that much survivability, but I'd rather be prepared. And with dark shroud, we can have some fun. It's not a must-have skill. You could replace it for something else, but I think on raid bosses and on other tough fights, having that survivability would be nice. It's only 3 points, so you can just keep removing it and slightly reworking the build before a boss fight and using something different. You can use something like dash, for example, for mobility. Or you can even use some interesting stuff like concealment. It's not gonna be that bad to go that route. Alternatively, again, since Shroud again is here, from that category, smoke grenade might be nice, but again, I would recommend concealment or dash if you don't want to use dark shroud. Back to the skills, exploit and malice. I always take those. Agile this time I decide to take it, having some maxed out dodge chance. Code imbue 1 point only. That's all that's needed. Again, making this from 25 to 35% per hit won't be worth the extra 4 points. Blended coat imbue is my ideal one here as a choice, so that's what I recommend. Precision imbuement 3 points, and then frigid finesse 3 points. We're not taking chilling weight. Shadow Clone, obviously maxed out, and again, Shadow Clone I think fits very well with this build. Some people might prefer Arrow Storm. I will make the the Storm of Arrows, the Arrow Storm build 2.0 with Rain of Arrows. But this one I wanted to not use Rain of Arrows. I wanted to mimic my imbuements, to mimic my shots, and to have like a second sidekick next to me because I think it fits well with the single target focus of Rapid Fire and Heartseeker. Then after that, we have 3 points innervation, second wind, and alchemist. All three of those 3 points each. Lovely synergies there. Adrenaline rush just 1 point, so we can get 3 points into haste. And then after that, 3 points into aftermath. And precision, our key passive of choice. I think it's again a lovely synergy with all the critiness this build has. We can have more than one unique item equipped at a time. I will change this text. This is just leftover from the from before, but yeah, apparently it has been confirmed from reliable, um, hopefully reliable sources. One of them even claimed that the developer confirmed it. But people who I would choose to trust have told me that. In the closed beta, they had already changed uniques to not be one per build like the mythical used to be. So good news for some of us, bad news for the diversity in the game because they're kind of killing legendaries one way or another because eventually everyone would want to have a bunch of uniques over legendaries. So Sky Hunter is the top pick as unique item, the most sought after unique item for this build. Um, damage to distant enemies built in, of course, it's a bow. Then it has a massive dex, marksman skill damage, crit strike damage, and ranks of the exploit passive. And then the first direct damage you deal to an enemy is a guaranteed critical strike. If you had maximum stacks of the precision key passive when you cast the skill, gain 15 to 25 energy. This can happen only once per cast, which again, super solid, massive bonus. And with this energy gain here, definitely you can get rid of this and take that one because you won't have problems. There are two other unique items that you could consider. I will talk more about those in the during the legendary aspect segment because again there's ways to rearrange them and I will show you those eventually later. You can check all of that again in my website or on the spreadsheet. I'll quickly say which they are and then show you in detail what each of them does. Enshrouding in the helmet, Vengeful in the amulet. Siphon protection on the chest, Umbrus in the pants, Blast Trapper in the gloves, Exploiters in the boots, Aspect of Corruption in Ring 1, Ravenous in Ring 2, Aspect of the Expectant in the one-handed weapon, and in the off-handed, Aspect of Arrow Storms. Keep in mind this aspect of Arrow Storms is temporary. and that's only until the unique item, the unique bow has been obtained. Once that unique bow has been obtained, we would need to move the aspect from our two-handed weapon, which is aspect of imitated imbuements, and that means we sacrifice aspect of arrow storms, and this one replaces it because this one will be where the unique is. It's written over here. Now there are those two other unique items I mentioned, which would be the Frostburn gloves and the Harlequin crest helmet. And I think wooded ways you could rework if that's the first item you get. If that's the first unique you get, how you could rework things. For the Frostburn gloves, again, this one gets removed, and then you need to move Blast Trapper over there to make room for the gloves. For the helmet, this one gets removed, and then you move Vengeful. Um, you move Vengeful over here, and then Enshrouding moves where Vengeful was, giving it 50% improvement. But then you open up the helmet for the shake or for the Harlequin's crest. Both of those items are good synergies. I mean, this item is good synergy for any build. No matter what the build is, this would be good, especially when you're doing hell tides. Even if you have a better helmet that you like more, when you're doing hell tides, my recommendation is strongly to do Harlequin's crest for this 42 to 70% crafting material drop rate. Because there are there are not items, materials that only drop in the hell tides, so you really want to use that then. And this one with the freeze and the cold damage and the crit strikes and chance to freeze enemies and chance to restore resource again. Another reason to remove this and put a point there instead. So let's just tell you what each of those does. Imitated imbuements is perfect for the shadow clone. It will mimic the imbuements we apply to our skills, and it also gets 8 to 16% multiplicative increased damage for 5 seconds. Um, After we cast an imbuement skill. Vengeful aspect, Wookie hit making an enemy vulnerable has up to 30 or 50% chance to grant 3% increased crit strike chance for 3 seconds, stacking 3 times up to 9%. Then your imbuements have 20 to 30% multiplicative increased potency against vulnerable enemies. Then Blast Trapper, Wookie hit dealing direct damage to enemies affected by your trap skills has up to 30 or 50% chance to make them vulnerable for 3 seconds. This is a major source of making enemies vulnerable. You just pop your caltrops, shoot at the enemies, and chances are with those 8 arrows, which might actually turn into 10, and those that should be 8, because we get something from Paragons you'll see later. There's gotta be at least one that makes that enemy vulnerable. And again, on bosses, it's super easy to keep vulnerable, even if it's not through other means. It's hard to keep bosses crowd controlled. That's why prioritizing vulnerable stuff seems to be important for boss fights, in my opinion. Okay. Range marksman skills have up to 10% chance to create an arrow storm. This is the temporary one. Um, I'm not sure how strong it is. I've never obtained it to try it to know whether the damage is serious or whether it's kind of negligible. But I think it won't be that amazing for this build, but it would be for AoE based builds like um, my Arrow Storm 2.0, which is coming eventually very soon. Expectant enemies hit with basic skills increase the damage of your next core skill. Again, the nature of this build is pump a few Heart Seekers to build up combo points, then and to stack increase crit damage on an enemy, then boom, rapid fire, unleash the beast. And this fits very well with that playstyle. Exploiter, I love it on every build. It's amazing, doing increased damage to bosses while they're still unstoppable is perfect. And while they're still unstoppable, you're also building the crowd control break bar faster thanks to those 20%. Then killing a vulnerable enemy grants you increased energy regeneration. This one not a must-have. You could put whatever else you want as a resource generator if you're having problems with resource generation early on. Later on, you shouldn't need that one, and you could put another offensive aspect maybe there. Then Siphon Protection. Damaging vulnerable enemy with a core skill has up to X% chance to grant a barrier, and I think it works perfectly fine because it's not using a skill, but it's for each damage. For each one of those arrow hits that you do with rapid fire, you would be getting a separate chance, a separate row on this Waki hit to generate barrier. And you have no problem keeping enemies vulnerable, so this would be lovely to keep you up with the barriers. Then gain a dark shroud shadow every 3 seconds when standing still. Each dark shadow um, grants 2 to 4% increased damage reduction extra on the 8% it normally gives. And then Wiki hit crit strikes with marksman skills have up to 50% chance to grant a free dark shroud. So again, stacking more of that dark shroud behavior together for some survivability. Next, a little bit of information about the gems and the sockets. For the weapons, during this server slam, I've noticed one thing. On major bosses, it's extremely important to have damage to vulnerable enemies, because it's much more difficult to benefit from something like critical strike damage to crowd controlled enemies, or overpower damage, unless you have some sort of build that guarantees overpower. But again, for a rogue, that's not the case. So critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies should be your high priority for boss fights. Otherwise, on regular enemies, crowd controlling enemies is as easy as popping your caltrops. Basic skill damage, very reserve. Um, like deep reserve if you really can't get any of the other stuff, because even ultimate damage would be amazing. Synergy with your quones mimicking you. Even stuff like life on Q won't be bad. But I would say priority number one for bosses, this one number one for mobbing. This one is priority number 2 in either case, and this one maybe priority number 3 for the weapon. Then for the armor, skull or ruby. My suggestion would be ruby. Um, Diamond also won't be bad, considering we took this one. We took this one. Now what was the name? Siphon protection. Yeah, siphon protection. So since we took that one, diamond is not that bad, but again, I would go for ruby in the armor as top tier choice. And jewelry, diamond, unless you need specific resistances more than resistance to all. For the gear rows, suggested gear rows, right now I'm very limited on time, so I can't do a list um, per item SWOT. But what I do is I give you higher priority table, list of higher priority affixes, and a list of good stuff that still works well but should be kind of lower priority. But in the higher priority, that's not to say that everything at the top should be better at the bottom. This is not in list of priority, because it again should be based on situation. Again, vulnerable damage to vulnerable, stuff like that would be amazing against bosses, whereas damage to crowd control and stuff like that would be great for just regular mobbing, where it's much easier to crowd control the targets. But in general, you are looking for certain keywords, and in this case, the keywords would be damage, critical strike chance, critical strike damage. Now, you're looking to combine those words, including Wiki hit chance and so on, with key categories or key types of damage. The types of damage you want to prioritize are physical and cold, or physical and non-physical, as it's set in the Paragon boards, because the whole elemental is listed as non-physical there, regardless of what type of element. Then key categories to prioritize would be core skills, bonuses to core skills, ranks, crit chance, etc. Then after that, marksman is your second best bet. After that, it's imbuements on the third spot, and ultimate should be fourth. tier of priority. So it goes core, then marksman, then imbuement, then ultimate. Some people would prefer marksman over core because it boosts more than just the core skill. But I'm not sure if core won't actually have a higher number because it's a specific category core rather than marksman, a broader category. Um, but yeah, again, looking for damages, crit chance, crit damage, wacky hits, to those things, as well as anything that has to do with elites, whether it's damage to elites, damage after killing an elite, the damage reduction after killing an elite, crit strike chance with etc. after elites, and so on. Good stuff to consider again: close enemies and vulnerable enemies. But distant enemies also should be considered. I probably need to replace that with distant here. Damage to crowd controlled enemies and so on. The thing is, caltrops makes you play in a way where you're close to the enemies. The way caltrops is dropped, unless you have some extra dash after dropping caltrops to move away, to make sure you're within distant enemies distance rather than close enemies distance. I think close enemies might be more beneficial to you. Damage to healthy enemies, damage to vulnerable enemies with imbued skills, very good on bosses, critical strike damage with imbued skills, code imbued skill damage, and imbuement potency. All good stats. There is the list here on my website as well as on the spreadsheet here, whereas the orange is here in white and the blue here is normally the golden on the other website. The Paragon boards could be scary at first, but once you get the hang of them, you shouldn't be scared. And if you are, don't worry, I've got you covered. As usual, I will show two two stages of this setup. Stage number one would be what this build would look like. In this case, at level 93 with 0 extra points from renown. But by that time, you should have 20 points from renown already farmed by doing renown grinding in each area. That means you should have this at actually level 88. 5 levels sooner. So at level 88, that's what your Paragons would look like. And if we're talking about the fully maxed out version, this is it, level 100 with extra 20 Paragon points from Renown, all the 220 Paragon points. You would see some interesting things that you might not understand right away. I'll try to explain them as well as possible. Starting with this board, our route is this way. Taking the damage, the life, the damage, the life. Now, over here, because we have a ton of, we have 70 total decks we can take and 39 int and strength. I decided to go for cheap, something that you would benefit from early. Was 9.6 increased physical damage, so this will trigger even if you don't imbue the skill. You're taking this route like that and taking this. You're not taking this one yet. This will come a little later. Then you're moving here, 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 here. And now you're taking this one thing. In fact, you could maybe take this before taking that. But keep in mind, each one of those dex nodes will give you 9.6% increased physical damage, which is massive. You better get them early. 240. We'll come back to this node, to this board, and put some more points into it for extra physical damage. But for now, we are exiting the board and connecting it to the next one, which is Cunning Stratagem. Keep in mind, the majority of legendary board nodes are extremely disappointing because the vast, massive amount of wasted points that need to be invested just so you can reach them um, from the glyph socket um, makes them not worth it. So in most of the boards you would see, I'm not even bothering with those underwhelming, not worth the point spent legendary. They don't even feel legendary. They feel like a slightly stronger yellow. But yeah, now we're going over here with this cunning stratagem, and we're taking this way. And since this is an intelligence board, this will be taken in a moment. So we're going up here. Core skill damage int, core skill damage dex. Now swatting control. For each 5 intelligence within range, you get 14.4 increased damage to crowd controlled targets. This board has 39 intelligence. We will only take 34. The last one here is not worth 3 points for that 14.4% increased damage to crowd controlled targets. After you take this, you start doing things in such a way. First, you take this one, core skill damage dex. Then you take this one. Then you take that one and that one here. Next, you have an intelligence here, and you're moving up dex, so and so. You take those two intelligence nodes. Once you're done with those, you're moving on here, taking those. There's some damage, basic skill damage and stuff. You don't need the basic skill damage, but there is no other choice. You have to take it. I experimented to see if it won't be better to grab this damage here on the way to that one. But then I decided it's best to just exit through here and take this on that way. Not that I really like this, just it's a little better to do it that way. And now we're taking this one. After we take this, we move on here, and we're connecting to the no witnesses. We're taking this route to no witnesses. Some people might want to connect it through there and skip this damage to healthy, crit strike damage to healthy, but I think it's fine. If I'm not mistaken, I even fill in with more crit strike damage later. See those notes later. We will be taking them later on as fillers. For now, we are just taking the most important things on our way, grabbing just this one, because I mean you can double this damage to healthy. And by the way, this one, the way this works is it has 180 plus 90 equip index. Equip index is the number of board consecutive after this one. So this one will be in our case equip index 1. This one will be equip index 2. So this means you would need 180 plus 90 times 2 intelligence, which means you would need 360 intelligence to unlock this one. And for this one, 170 plus 180. Again, 170 plus 90 times 2 strength and so on. So after you take this, you move over there and you're taking this route. Here. After you take the glyph socket, the first things you would want to do is branch out here, and here. And this is a strength exploit, is a strength socket. For every 5 strength, you deal 7.2 increase damage to vulnerable targets. Means you have to take this strength and this strength as well. And then eventually you're taking this strength and that strength and that strength, and you're moving over here, grabbing this and this strength. And then it's time to move on to the top, taking this and this strength on the way. And we're connecting this to the exploit weakness, but again, we're not taking the exploit weakness. It's underwhelming. It's not worth all the points you would waste on the way there, even if it means you'll be taking damage to elites and stuff like that. It's just not gonna be worth the points you could spend elsewhere. It's better to spend those points around here, around those glyph sockets. And since we're putting combat here, which is an intelligence one for each 5 intelligence, 19.2 increased crit strike damage with core skills. You're taking this route here, connects you nicely with those 2 intelligence nodes, then you connect this one. After that, you're moving down here for this intelligence, damage to vulnerable, and 2 times more damage to vulnerable. After that, you have 2 more intelligence on this side to take with dosage and potion healing on the way. And then you have strength and intelligence, or you can do this one, dex and intelligence. It's up to you which one you do. You might need strength in this case to fill certain requirements for certain things like that one. And then in this point here, you're taking that int, and then you're taking this dex and that int. and then this int, and then you're leaving this board and connecting to that one here, which as you can see is Eldritch Bounty, and another one that I didn't think it's worth the ton of points you would have to waste on the way to it, even if it means you take some stuff like that. By the way, later on we are returning here to take some of this stuff. And then what you're seeing here is the Ranger. The Ranger Dexterity Marksman skills deal 9.6 increased damage for each 5 dex. So the best way to approach it would be over here. You're taking imbued skill damage. You're taking imbued skill damage and more and more. Then this dex here and then taking that Marksman. If you want, you could skip this one and then take it later and take this one as a first priority. But to get all the decks, you need to dip down here. Take those two and take this one on the way. Then you need to go up there, get these decks because this gives you 10 decks as well. This also gives you 10 decks, by the way. And then again, from all the 70 decks you can get, you're going this way, taking those 4. And with this, you would be done with the first stage. The second stage would be adding another board, and the cheapest way to do it would be to spend the points over here. So let's show you what I've done. I spent those points here, and I've connected the deadly ambush. And again, I'm not taking the actual deadly ambush, I'm just going for the glyph socket. And this one is a board perfect for another intelligence node to go there. This one has 34 int in it, and that's more than enough for us, considering we get 14.4% increased damage to skills that are imbued. So after we take all of that here, int, dex, strength, then next we would do this, dex, int, and then dex, damage to enemies affected by trap skills, damage to enemies affected by trap skills, int. You could skip this one and save a point. You could skip this one and save a point if you feel like it. If you'd rather spend them elsewhere, for example, if you need those 10 decks, you might do that there. And after that, we're starting to fill in the blanks. Remember, this one is maximum 70 decks, but we had 40, and now we have 55. It is worth it to get the ones that are easy to obtain. For example, for this one, you will need to spend 2 points extra. That means 3 points. 3 points for just 9.6 increased physical damage is not worth it. If it was 2 points, it might have been worth it. Alternatively, you're spending 1, 2, 3 points for 2 times the 9.6 increased physical damage. But what else you would do is, first of all, as you remember, I showed you discrete strike damage and damage to healthy enemies. Here we are taking that. Then there was, not sure if you remember it, but there was some stuff over here that is damage to elites, which we took. So I'm taking this detour to take this one here now. And as you can see, this one remains as it was, but we're dipping down from this one. We already had it. Dipping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So out of 5 points, only one is white, and we're getting imbuement cooldown reduction 1%, including this 2.5%, and then we're getting 10 non-physical damage, which this one potentially can get even more. And then we're getting this non-physical damage and this non-physical damage. To get notified when I upload more content like this one or other builds and guides for Wooter and not so Wooter games, you can subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on notifications. As well as keep in mind there's something called memberships on YouTube, which lets you be a paying member for my channel to get access to perks such as emotes and badges made by me, as well as the option to get one-on-one tutoring for the very basics of Adobe Photoshop, Premiere and After Effects. And memberships can be cancelled at any time if you no longer want to be a member. Thanks for watching all the way until the end. Struck up, keep it cool until next time, and goodbye.